When I talk to people and I say that I do session recording for a living, people don't really know what that means usually, and I get a lot of questions. And I thought that it would be interesting, maybe for you, to hear about what it's like and how it can look like to do freelance session recording as a musician. And by all means, I think every artist, every freelancer works in a different way. But I thought that I would maybe share with you my process, because yesterday I was just putting together a guide so that it would be a little bit clearer for my clients as to how I'm working, because I tend to go over things over and over and explain the same things. And in the same idea, I thought, why not make a video about that and share some of that experience with you guys? Before I get started, I want to just say that I decided to separate my channel. In case you don't know, my music stuff is now on a separate channel. I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in that. But without, further ado, let's get started. So one of the first things that I'll discuss with my clients when I do recording sessions is the fact that nowadays I've decided that I would be making only live sessions. And so, actually online live sessions, which means we get onto a call when someone reached out to me and they want to record a song. We'll hop into a call and we'll do the recording live. And what that means is we need to figure out the scheduling. And because I'm in Finland, usually that's pretty late for me and it's going to be pretty early for people in North America. But so far it's been working really well, and we've managed to, find schedules despite the time differences, which are a big challenge, I would say, in general for, rhythm of living. It's one of the things that time difference, to make a small segue, time differences has been one of the things that had made content creation a lot more difficult for me, because I used to, stream in the afternoon or make content in the afternoons, and it was really easy because then it's evening time for people in Europe. But nowadays I can't really work in the days, and I usually don't have that really high energy in the evenings, or it's more difficult to play music. So anyhow, with that said, I usually need to have recordings before 8 p.m. my time, because for some reason where I live, in this specific building, we need to not make loud noises after 8 p.m. And how to say that, I do sing pretty loud. So, and my harp also is pretty loud. I do more vocal sessions than I do harp sessions, but harp sessions are also a thing. They're pretty fun, actually. So when we've figured out a schedule together, and I'm reading some of my notes that I wrote, once we figured out a time, could be during the weekend in some occasions, ideally during the week for me, but we'll, go through the order together, and I'll usually start with, suggesting that we book only 1 hour of studio. But what I'll do is I'll leave a little bit more time, and we just, add time as we go. I do offer those services on Fiverr usually. I would say that I prefer working outside of Fiverr, but I have a respect also for, the business model, and I think that they have brought me a lot of clients over the years, and so I sort of try to honor that when it makes sense. But yeah, so I have my gig on Fiverr over there. People get in touch with me, and we'll book this first 1 hour session. The studio time that is usually required for recording vocals on a complete project varies a lot, and I'd say it's probably one of the most difficult, challenging things for me to communicate with my clients as to what to expect, because on one hand, it does depend on the complexity of the song, the mere amount of vocals that need to be written for that. But I would say that there's also a lot of it that is highly dependent on the clients themselves and what they're hoping to get out of the sessions. And one of the great things about doing live recording like that is that we get this live feedback, and it's easy to like try things and test things and, you know, just kind of basically like collaborate on making music, and it makes it really efficient and really fun. And depending on what the clients want, we can try, you know, 100 different versions, but that's going to take a lot more time. And nowadays I charge per hour of studio session because I've tested like so many different, you know, pricing strategies, and all of them just didn't feel quite right. And I sort of feel that with the like hourly studio rate, I get like I feel like it's the most satisfying for everybody, because then we're like the most respectful of each other's time in that, you know, environment. And like there's less, you know, figuring out what to do with like the editing and all that stuff that I'm gonna get back to a little bit later. But basically, I'd say, like, to give a general idea of what I would expect for a normal project, I'd say that if I record like one section of vocals or like some harmonies here and there, and I'm just sort of like a backup vocalist, or like it's a duet song or something, it's possible that I might be able to do it within an hour. But then, like, if it's like the full lead vocals, I would usually expect maybe like an hour and a half. And if we have like, you know, the harmonies and like a lot of back vocals to do, it could be between 2 and 3 hours of sessions, which I usually split in different sessions because I don't have the stamina to give my 100% for 3 hours in a row. But like one thing that I really try to stress to my clients is how much of that is dependent on like what they want, because we can like always like, you know, sometimes we could just like get it right the first time, and some clients are like they want more of like my own creative input. Some clients have a more like strict specific vision, and if we're trying to get like that specific, you know, feeling and vision, then of course it's going to take more time. But like also on the other hand, I would say that the more prepared you are, the more likely we are to be able to be efficient with our sessions. So for instance, if you already have like ideas of what back vocals you want for your track and stuff, then I only have to listen to it once or twice, and then I can record it right away. But if the client does not provide me with like, you know, the written back vocals, or those back vocals actually need a lot of work to fit with the music, or we need to rewrite a lot of stuff, and it's not really clear and the direction is unclear, then of course it's going to take more time. So like it's entirely possible that I could do it like much, much quicker, or we could spend like multiple hours on something, and it's entirely dependent on how well prepared. Well, it's dependent on many things, like the amount of, like I said earlier, the amount of vocals that need to be created or recorded, the like how much like layers we want, and it's also dependent on how organized the client is in the first place, and how like structured the material that they're asking me to work with is. So like, yeah, clearly labeling the files, creating proper guide vocals for helping me understand what the melody is ahead of time, MIDI files for melodies, separate harmonies, and so on are really, really helpful. And one of the things that is actually very important to me are the guide vocals, and that's something that often has a massive impact on our ability to work efficiently together. So what are guide vocals? There's not like really official terms for things. I feel like a lot of people just use terms differently. Guide vocals could be, you know, just like a melody played on an instrument, but really the best that what I usually would require or like urge clients to have when we work together is to have it doesn't have to be a good recording, but it has to be a recording with an actual person who's singing and singing the words at the same time, because working and learning the melody and how the words are fitting together live is very time consuming, and it's not extremely efficient for our work. it can be done, but that's probably one of the biggest things that I would emphasize and ask anybody who wants to work either with me or work with any other vocalist to kind of have. And most of the time, I think clients have had those, but it has happened to me several times with multiple different clients that I don't get that track beforehand, and it's making things a lot more complicated. So that's one of the things. The hourly rate that I charge for a studio session also includes like a lot of time that I spend around it for preparing the files, just like listening to the track a couple of times. I might like create some like scratch vocal on my end just for like practicing before the session, if I feel like it would be helpful. And I will also take care of all the editing, including like pitch correction when required, because sometimes, takes are super great and you really want to keep them, but they just miss this like little, they could be like slightly pitchy, but I try to not overdo that kind of thing. But it's just part of the industry. That's how we work. So I'll edit the vocals entirely. Sometimes clients have come to me with a little bit more, like they require a little bit more help to finish the song, or maybe they're not so sure about like the melody, or they want to write a melody and make sure that it fits with my vocal range and everything. And in those occasions, I'll suggest a client to have like what I would call consultation calls. So it's not like the actual recording, but we might spend a little bit of time before the session so that we kind of sit down and maybe like flesh out the harmonies together, try out like different arrangements, complete the melodies. It might even like be, like help with finishing up the lyrics or something, or getting my opinion on something specific. And like I've done that a couple of times with clients, and it sort of like helps us sort of separate our time a little bit better, so that like when we're recording, we're like focused on actually recording and testing things if we want to, but like mainly we have like a plan. But yeah, those sessions have been actually very fun for me because it's extremely creative and I just enjoy being part of the writing, and that's one of my strengths also. So I'm always happy to do something like that. And so basically there's that, and like that's a separate rate that I charge for that, because it doesn't require me to spend time like outside of the session. So my hourly rate is like more similar to like my lessons and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to the how the studio session works and the delivery, when I get hired, like it includes like I said, the editing, some like pitch correction. We usually have a comp track. By the end of the recording, we're making the decisions together as we go. And if you don't know what a comp track is, basically, because like when we're recording vocals, we usually do like a lot of takes, and then we're going to, take the best parts of every take that we like best, and then we're going to create a sort of like a composite track which blends all of those things. So I'll take that and then I'll edit everything to make sure that everything sounds good, that like all the fades are properly placed and there's no like weird cuts, and it sounds very seamless, so you don't really hear that we like cut things and sort of like have a composite track. Like I hope I'm explaining this well. If not, let me know in the comments and I'll try to like post a comment with better explanation. But so that's what a comp track is. And during the session, like here's the best part. During the session, there's this really cool thing that happens where there's this like feeling of like collaboration, and I feel that like doing those sessions live, because I used to do everything offline and just deliver the tracks, but I feel like we get so much better results from like working together, being like having a sort of like human moment together where I like sing on the track, and you can give like feedback. I say you, I mean like my clients, but like you can, the client can give feedback on my performance, and we can like adjust, and we can try different things, and we can be like, oh, like let's try something like a little bit smoother, and then I'm like, oh, something like this, and we can like really craft something that is like, there's no need for revisions, because we're just like doing it live. Like everything that we're making is like goes by the client, and we get to like try it again until like we settle on something and we're like, oh yeah, this is the take. And there's just something so much more fun with like working with an actual person, and I'm sure that the experience is like shared on both ways. Like I love working like live with clients. Like it makes me feel like I'm actually doing music with a person, and not just like being like a robot like singing in a mic and like delivering something. Like we actually can inject life into the vocals. We can make them sound like they would be like great, but we can make them like amazing. We can make them like what they need to be. Or we can do it more simple. It really like depends, because I've had clients who are just like, yeah, that's good, I love this, next. And I'm like, cool, chill, next. And we go like section by section until everything is done. I have high standards though, so I have to say that like it's kind of like, I feel that every section needs to be a consensus between both of us, and it needs to be like, okay, are you happy with this? Yeah. Am I happy with this? Yeah. So if we can both agree that this is a good take, then next, and we get to the next section. There's something just really cool that happens when I'm done with the recording. Well, when we're done with the session, basically, yeah, I'll go edit all the files, which I already mentioned. I'll prepare them, and then I'll send everything in like a wave format. That's the standard. I usually work in 44.1 kilohertz, 24 bits. That's the standard for recording, and that's what I deliver. And I usually do that without effects, because you don't want to have effects on the tracks. You want them raw so that you can mix them in your own project. Why am I saying you? It's not like you're, I don't know, like whatever, just like ignore me. But yeah, so that way they can be incorporated seamlessly into the project. They're like already there. They just go on your track, and they're like already synced and everything, and everybody's happy. So yeah, it's been like going from doing offline recording to online recording has just been truly amazing. So anyhow, what I use now, like a little bit more technically, as like the tools that I use, in order to have the best audio quality, I use a service that's called Source Connect. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description box down below, especially if you're also like a session musician or you're just curious, because what happens is that a lot of communication platforms such as like Discord, Skype, in order to save data, they're going to only allow voice communication to be like mono. But because we're doing vocal arrangements, and a lot of it is sort of dependent on like the stereo effect, because a lot of the times one of the standard ways that I will record things is we're gonna have like a main vocal track that is centered in the middle. But then I'm going to layer vocals that are going to be panned on each side, and we want to hear the left and the right, and it creates like a really like deep and really cool effect. And I want that to be that, like, I want the clients to be able to hear that as we're recording, and if we're missing on that, we're missing on like a huge part of like what makes the vocals sound so good. And so it's very important to me that I can like stream the audio in stereo. And so yeah, I use Source Connect, and it also has like a much higher audio quality streaming, so that's pretty great. And usually I'll send like the room link and like a password on Discord or on Fiverr, depending. And I'll ask the clients to make sure to test their audio beforehand. So with that said, generally speaking, though, we're also going to use Discord, like we call on Discord, and I'll share my DAW as I work. I'll share my screen because I think it's just interesting to see, and it's just easier to communicate and say, hey, like this take over here that we just recorded, I might like move it this way and do this thing, and the client can be, oh yeah, the green take, like, oh yeah, this one. And it's just easier to work when the client can also see what I'm doing in the DAW, which is the digital audio workstation, or the recording software, if you would like. So that's how we do it. I hope this was kind of interesting. It's maybe super specific to my own way of working and like the specific tools that I'm using. If you would be interested in maybe me, like if you enjoyed that video and would like me to go a little bit more in depth about like my equipment or some like techniques that I'm using for recording vocals, or maybe even like show you guys a little bit how I work, like let me know in the comments, or if you have any questions regarding what I said, or you're just curious about my process, let me know in the comments down below. And if you're interested in booking me for like voice recording, that's absolutely possible. I'll leave a link to some place. I'm gonna make it clear also in the comments. I don't know where it would be best to contact me, actually. Maybe email. I'll see. I'll leave the link down below so you can find it easy. And yeah, I hope that was interesting. And I guess I'll see you in a future, maybe a reaction video, or, you know, studio session musician vlog. I don't know what that is. But that was fun. That was fun to record. Also, don't forget to check my music channel that I will leave in the description as well. Don't forget that, because I'm not posting my music on this channel anymore, because it's just getting the algorithms confused. So anyways, take care. Bye-bye.